Rally. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. We've got only one game tonight, so it's a late night, but I know that you have some news that you just recently shared on social media. I came in a couple of minutes early, was trying to chat up our followers on some PGA. They weren't having it. We did get it a little into the Logan Paul Mayweather fight, so we got a little bit. But for everybody who's been here chatting it up with me, Scoop, you got a new gig going on. Tell us all about it.
Bally Sports Network is the place you guys need to be checking out. I am their new digital NBA insider at Bally Sports Network, and been there for about a month, but I let everybody in on what I was doing yesterday, and I've been having fun.
Good. It's perfect time. We've got the play-in tournament still going. So far, we've had 2 nights of games, 2 games a night. What surprised you the most, and how difficult was it to get through that first game 2 nights ago to be able to stay up late to watch the second game? Because that first game, Pacers, Charlotte, was so sad.
It was sad, but I enjoyed it, only because I feel like the Pacers have just been teeter-tottering so much this year, whether it was injuries, whether it was trades, Karis LeVert being in and out. But I'll tell you that when I look at that first game, I was entertained, and the second game, I was more entertained because Russell Westbrook and the Wizards wet the bed. And I think that the Celtics are in a situation where they have really played beneath their privilege, and they got a chance to kind of make it right in the playoffs. But Russell Westbrook going against the Pacers, he's had 10 triple-doubles in his career against the Pacers.
And, you know, look, I want to go back to that game. You're talking about the Pacers, Charlotte, and how excited it made you. We did find out that day that LeVert is going to be out for the 14 days COVID protocol. That's all we knew at that time, correct? Did the Pacers play very well without LeVert, or was it the fact that Charlotte was on a 5-game losing streak? They had completely surrendered before they walked out on the court. They had absolutely barely any mojo, no rebounds. No, it was an effortless game on my part. So what do we see tonight? We've got the Pacers taking on the Wizards. Total points right now. It's a high-scoring game because they are factoring in Russell Westbrook. 238.5 is the total points on this one at Bovada. Plus 145 for the Pacers to win, minus 165 for the Wizards. So will the Wizards give this fighting chance? Because the books, you know, pretty smart here, right? And I'm looking at 238.5. That shows me there's high expectations for tonight's standalone play-in game.
The Wizards need it, and I'll add that I feel as though the Wizards have not played winning basketball since Russell Westbrook tied Oscar Robertson's record against the Pacers, and then they lost those 2 straight against the Hawks. And I think that in this situation, having a familiarity with the Pacers or going against the Pacers is just the need to do well. His shooting in last game was not on par, so I expect not just
Bradley Beal still struggling as well. You saw him grabbing onto that upper thigh, hamstring, you know, all night, especially after you went up for that one beautiful dunk, which was beautiful, but at the same time, the second he came down, you saw him grab for it, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, it's that they got to step it up in that regard. Bradley Beal was almost the NBA scoring leader this year, Steph Curry, and I know we got to talk about the Lakers too.
By the way, we have a comment right here that says, Russ and Bradley Beal will have a revenge game today. Prepare for the Wizards versus Philly in the first round. Ooh, what do you think of that comment, Scoop?
I agree. They pretty much. I feel like
Pacers are done. You think the Pacers are going to lose tonight?
Alex Porter is my spirit animal. That's how I felt going into tonight's game. I think that the Wizards have a legitimate shot, and I think also that Sixers-Wizards series is going to be interesting. If I'm not mistaken, in the 3 meetings this year, the Sixers have beaten the Wizards handily, but the last game was pretty close. And I think that this is a good tune-up series for Philadelphia if they do play the Wizards in that series. But from positions 1 to 15, the Sixers, have been playing very well. They've had some rest. They play, I think, Sunday, I think they play Sunday. But yeah, I think that I would like to see that series.
Philadelphia gets a nice amount of rest right now, to be honest with you. They're not playing till next week because we've got the Grizzlies Warriors tomorrow. We've got then 3 games, which is going to be super nice on the 22nd, which is Saturday. But we still do have I'm looking at this upcoming schedule. It looks very, very interesting. It's amazing to see the Knicks on. Let's just go back to the late game last night.
Can we?
LeBron. Now listen, do you remember early on the talk about LeBron years ago was he doesn't want the ball in the last 3 seconds. It's never the plan. It's not his jam. You saw the reaction of Curry after that shot went in, and just the way, like, the showmanship with the both of them, the skill set with the both of them, and the respect that they have really for each other. You just saw Curry look at him like, really? That's how this is going to end? Like, wow.
I agree, and I want to say hi to my buddy Jason Monty in the comments. I went to college with him at Eastern University.
What's up, Jason?
But I think that game last night, one thing that gets kind of lost in translation is the effectiveness of Alex Caruso. Particularly in that fourth quarter where he stole the ball, and then I think they got the break. And that game against the Warriors was a needed game. I kind of felt like I was watching LeBron when he went against the Pistons. I believe that was the conference finals in 2007, where he just kicked it into overdrive. It's often been a criticism that LeBron James, doesn't score in big moments, or, he passes instead of shoots. And I think that's just the interesting dichotomy that is LeBron, because he has so many facets to his game. I think he really was laser focused, and he did what he needed to do. So I was impressed. As it relates to the rest of the playoffs with the Lakers, I think that they're going to have an interesting series against the Phoenix Suns. But I also think that the Lakers are the biggest underdog champion in recent histories, and they're trying to repeat. And I think LeBron just played very well, but he had a great supporting cast. I was really, really impressed with the play of the Lakers. They were down.
But you know what? And the silencer just said it. And I was going to say it before he put it out there. When a game is that close, you now start to really rely on luck. So what we saw was a pretty balanced game last night, going down into that last 3 seconds. And when you see a game that's that balanced, can you really say that the Lakers are that much better than the Warriors? You really can't, because up until the last 3 seconds, we were looking at the same situation. I was really hoping the game was going to go into overtime. We'd get a little bit more action, right? We know none of the players are, but when you look at, we know LeBron's been able to rest. AD's been a little bit banged up. We know these things, but do you still believe that it's going to be the Lakers all the way? And then at the end of the day, when we're talking about forward thinking, don't worry about injuries, any changes on teams as of is right now. Lakers taking it all again this year?
I'd like to see it, but I don't think there's enough data because the Lakers started out the season on a very short recovery window. LeBron and Anthony Davis were out. And also, the other thing that is worth observation is the schematics between both LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Andre Drummond to legitimately be a three-headed monster. The Lakers have a problem, in my opinion, that the Nets have, where you haven't seen their big threes be big threes. When you look at the Lakers, they have the added bonus of having a Kyle Kuzma, but how is he going to, I think he had like 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and people were criticizing him last night, but they have a great supporting cast. In LeBron's absence, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope really stepped up. So I think the other team that you have to consider just on paper is the Los Angeles Clippers, particularly because of the effectiveness of Rondo and him coming, and also Paul George. I think if he
You talk about playoff Rondo? You talk about playoff Rondo? I mean, you're right. And also, listen, so many people have started to sleep on the Clippers, right? And there's still that battle out there in the West. And I think sleeping on the Clippers was because of injuries and resting players, what have you. But look at that talent, ready to rock. I completely agree with you. They're so stacked. Now, when I look forward to games, like, look, the Grizzlies, Warriors, see you later, Grizzlies. This is going to be it. Do you agree with me on that one? The Warriors take the win tomorrow night.
I feel like this is a repeat of a conversation we had on Sunday.
Oh, that's right. You mean the same game where the Warriors were playing? You said that the Grizzlies were going to win, and I said the Warriors were going to win, and I decided it would be bad karma to reach out to you on social media and smack talk about our bet. So I started texting you instead, because I know if I put it out on social media that all these other people are going to get in. And if I'm wrong, it's not just me and you between each other, right? I know my limit, so I hit you. But yeah, let's talk about this game. Same game, a week later. What's really changed for either team? No major injuries, nothing. Nobody's come back. It's making a huge difference. I just don't see how the Grizzlies can beat the Warriors tomorrow night.
Before my rebuttal, what I will say to you is, you got me. However, I was right about the Super Bowl.
Okay, but that's old shit, man. Why are you bringing up old shit? And like, you all understand what I'm saying out there. Like, why is it? We're talking about recent. We're talking about the same two teams playing each other in the same sport in the same season. Playoff Rondo is a real thing, and PG-13 is playing with such a chip on his shoulder. It's scary, and we all know what Kawhi will do. What people are forgetting, the Clips are arguably the deepest. That's from official Alex Porter, who I appreciate greatly. You've been giving us such great feedback. We appreciate it, and he's right. And at the beginning of the season, you looked at that team. This was before there were all these pieces moved to the Brooklyn Nets. This was before the shakeup in the NBA. There was no doubt the deepest bench, the deepest team was the Los Angeles Clippers.
So I agree with you. I think the other thing is you got guys like DeMarcus Cousins who are playing well. You also have the big man whose name I can't think of, former Laker. I can't think of his name right now, but you got a supporting cast of guys on that team under head coach Ty Lue. I'll add this: coaching philosophies are so different in the sense of when you look at 2019, Ty Lue, Monty Williams, thank you, Ivica Zubac, Ty Lue, Monty Williams.
Thank you so much, Better Media. We appreciate you.
Ty Lue, Monty Williams, Jason Kidd were three of the most sought-after head coaches.
Yep, you're right.
And you're looking at Kidd, he won a championship. You look at Ty Lue, he's in a situation with the Clippers. And I believe he has a history of reviving teams via a coach that the team wasn't responding to. And I believe that he's given Paul George such a longer leash, and he's rose to the occasion in that regard. But Rondo makes all the difference in the world. I remember how much he carried that Lakers team last year. He's won championships on so many dynamic teams. I like.
Okay, so we talked about today. We didn't give you your total points right now. We didn't go through any of that, which we will do shortly. But we moved on to tomorrow. We did not yet get what Scoop says here, which I'm going to tell you all right now. The total points as of today. Remember, you get in. There could be a line change. Take advantage if you want to bet the under. Warriors, Grizzlies. I'm taking the Warriors for the win. And the total points is 220.5. I'll go for the over on the total points right now for tomorrow night. What you got?
I'm going with the Grizzlies again.
You got to be stubborn like that. Okay. Everybody remember that. Remember that side of him. Okay. You go. Okay. So wait, Jake really wants to talk about the Nets Celtics series. So Jake, we got you. We're going to get to that, but let's go to tonight. We've got the Pacers taking on the Wizards. You expressed earlier you think the Pacers are not winning this game. You think the Wizards are going for it. The total points is so high, 238.5. So if we both agree that Wizards are taking the win tonight, do we feel the Pacers are going to fight back enough? Look at all the points they put up the other night. What was like 140 points? Will they fight back enough to let us hit that over of 238.5 right now at Bovada?
I'm sticking with the under. I got the Wizards in the under.
You know what? Silencer says we're always the opposite. I'm going to be the opposite of you again, except I'm going to go along with you on the Wizards part of it all, but I am going to take the over on this game tonight. If you all want to get in the action, use my promo code. It's Lisa250BV. Let's skip ahead a game or two for our friend in here who seriously wants to talk about this Celtics-Nets game. Now, you know we got time. That's not until May 22nd, 2 days from now. The total points is 228 right now. How are we feeling about this matchup? I feel bad for really anyone who has to play the Nets because even though it's now only been 9 games where all of the players have been on the floor together, I feel like they're so ready to rally. And I think Harden knows himself by now and waited out this injury. What he did at the beginning of the season, if he could do half of that, it'd be fine with, the other contributors on the court with him.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'll add this as it relates to the Celtics. I like Jason Tatum's play in the last game. Specifically, I think when you look at the Celtics, like the Los Angeles Lakers, their story doesn't match their seeding.
Right.
January was not their friend. Tatum is starting to come around without Jaylen Brown, I'll add. Kemba Walker's injury, I feel like this has been a recurring thing just as far as is he 100%, but they're going against a Nets team that is looking to make a run, and like the Sixers.
By the way, before Jake's message goes away, Jake thinks we're foolish. He thinks the Celtics are going to knock the Nets out, which I find to be outrageous. Look, anything's possible. He did say Tatum is unlocking the difference for sure. I don't think any of us thought they would be in this position, especially after suffering an injury to their number 2 just 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, nobody. I mean, people were leaving the Celtics for dead in that regard. I mean, this is a team that has found a way. I want to be objective. I do like the Nets, but the Nets have some interesting holes as well, particularly cohesion as a full healthy unit. And I think that, talking to folks that are in the know, this time off allows those guys to practice together.
Yeah.
Get that cohesion. And I also think that second seed is a reminder that they're not number 1, and Philadelphia is, at least seeding wise. I feel like in the Eastern Conference, the Nets and the Sixers teeter-totter just as much as in the Conference, the Jazz and the Suns did. So I think it's going to be an interesting series, but I do still have the Nets. But the issue that I have is defensively, who is going to guard Jason Tatum?
That's the issue, and Better Media says, Brad Stevens says that nobody is beating the Nets. The coach doesn't even believe. Look, this is, and that's an interesting one. The Young says the Lakers should have kept Rondo. It's a tough one. Rondo's moved around quite a bit, right? And Rondo doesn't have the consistency yet. He's a player that knows how to keep his body intact to go deep into a season, and this is why we call him playoff Rondo, right? But I think the Lakers just needed to shake it up, and that was one of the pieces they could do. Sometimes the team doesn't really want to make the big deal that they have to meet, but eventually another player gets put on the deal, and it becomes this package that it's like, you can't go and tell them with your Happy Meal exactly what you want inside of it. It's a Happy Meal.
Yes, you can't go wrong with a Happy Meal. You're making me feel nostalgic with that. But I think you bring up a good point. It's going to be an interesting series. I personally, I think that the Knicks-Hawks series is going to be one of the most interesting series in round 1, particularly because they match up so well. I think Boston and Brooklyn match up interestingly. I think Tristan Thompson, and whether he'll go up against Nick Claxton or if you go against DeAndre Jordan, I think that's going to be a very interesting match. Yeah.
Listen, I'm really looking forward to that matchup as well, because the Hawks know how to play the Knicks, which really presents a challenge. But what the Knicks did this season just surprised us all so much. But did we gather what they've really studied about the game? You got a young team that plays really well on both sides of the court, strong defense. You got Julius Randle, who has just come to life, and Derrick Rose, who has fit in really well as well. So, and I just see so much depth and strength on both sides, where this is a scrappy kind of, who would have thought both of these teams would be in the position that they are when the Lakers are the play-in tournament, right? And here we are sitting pretty. These teams get rest, recovery. This is the longest break they've had since the season started, because All-Star break wasn't even this short. It wasn't even this long. It wasn't even a full week for them.
No, I remember All-Star weekend prior to COVID, you'd get like a week off, like All-Star festivities would start Thursday.
Yeah.
And the result of the season would be like that following Wednesday or Thursday.
So we skipped one of the games to help Jake, because Jake really wanted to hear us talk about his Celtics. Let's go back a game and cover one more right here. We've got the Heat Bucks. The total points in this game right now is 227. The Heat plus 170 for the win. This is the same Heat who were heating things up in the bubble, not just coffee Jimmy Butler. And also the Clippers are minus 210 for the win. What do you see here? You think the Mavericks can do any justice to the Clippers, or is this going to be a bloodbath like we saw 2 nights ago when the Pacers just demolished the Hornets?
Lisa, you know who I'm rolling with. The Miami Heat. I roll with the Heat. They're still the reigning NBA Eastern Conference champion.
You don't fall for the Giannis love, bro, do you? You don't fall for the Giannis. I get it. Listen, there's not enough depth around him. I admired him wanting to stay there, but when he signed his new deal off season, what did everyone say? Everyone said he can only do so well there, right? If he wants to stay there, that's his choice, but his chances of winning a championship are slim to none with the cast of characters around him, especially to be able to afford to keep him there in such a small market.
Yeah, he definitely, when you look at that situation with him staying in Milwaukee, one of the things, I may be in the minority, but I think it was smart, particularly because of the new collective bargaining agreement. You don't know exactly how that's going to look, particularly in the climate that we're in currently with COVID and more. And, they're going to really have to go to the negotiate table. I think that he took the money, but more than anything else, they did add a complimentary piece in Drew Holiday. I like Drew Holiday on that team, but as I see Alex Porter saying, Bucks will beat the Heat in 6 or 7. They added PJ Tucker and Drew Holiday as well. I think they did right. They also added Bobby Portis, who I think is a dog in their system as well. I like Miami. I'm sticking with my gut there, but I think I agree with Alex. It will be a 6 or 7 game series.
Yeah, and that's going to really wear down Miami if we're sure that they're going to be the ones pulling out of this series. And then last up right here, the Mavs and the Clippers. We know what we see moving forward, but what will it take for the Mavericks to get a win?
Kawhi and Paul George sit out.
Right, exactly. There's an earthquake or something of this nature, right? If something really traumatic happens. Well, we've got a good run. I'm really excited about the playoffs. I love to hear from everyone in here, it's going to be a 6 or a 7 game series. For those of us who love basketball and see this time of the season as almost like, I get that kind of emotional, like, oh my gosh, it's almost over. I'm not ready yet, So I'll take 6 or 7 games every series so that I get as much basketball as possible. How about you?
Yeah, I'm with you. It's going to be a very interesting 2 months, and I'm glad that we got our seatbelts buckled.
I'm glad, and I look forward to being in a great text conversation with you tomorrow as the Warriors are walking all over the Grizzlies.
I bet you a bottle of Fiji water that it will go the other way.
Oh, that's as much as you're going to get? Well, for those of you who want to bet more than Fiji, use my promo code at Bovada. It is Lisa250BB. Thank you all for joining us. We had some really insightful conversation. I love doing these, and they get better every single week, Scoop. So enjoy the game tonight, everybody. Thanks for joining us here.
See ya.